For time immemorial, music has been an intrinsic part of humans' daily life, particularly in Africa, where we sing our misfortune, dance our pain, celebrate our joy. It is used to talk to the ancestors, the genies, or divinities. It also invites everyone to get down and celebrate life. Hello, I'm Georges Collinet. Welcome to this edition of Home is Where Music Is, presented by the Africa Center. If music fascinates youth, it is a curse to many parents who do not see any value in a genre that is a daily occurrence, particularly in Africa. They also see with great concern their children ready to risk their lives to reach foreign lands where they will face racism, ignorance, and rejection to achieve their artistic dream. I know. I went through that myself. To talk about this and more, Aimé Awa and Michael Sherekis of Jolly Papa and myself, joined by Zoom, 4 exciting young artists. Singer, dancer, and fashion designer, Wunmi from Nigeria. Turbocharged funk rock soukous innovator, Jupiter and Okwess from Kinshasa, DRC. Afrobeat new style trumpeter, Daniel Dzidzonu from Togo. And slick rapper extraordinaire, Sampa the Great from Zambia.
Oh my gosh, where man go? Oh my gosh, if a man see me, oh my gosh, I guess you never know what you got today. Oh my gosh, where man go? Oh my gosh, if a man see me.
San Francisco was pretty much the first place out of my bubble of home and everything I knew about home. It was like, okay, this new frontier, America, oh my God, Hollywood, all that glitters is gold. And kind of got like the culture shock firsthand. And I was like, okay, so that's movies. Okay, cool. San Francisco was that, but more. It was also positive in a sense where it showed how creative we could actually all be and how beautiful it is being in a space where creatives are all around you. It opened up a creative spark in myself where I didn't feel inhibited by culture or anything that was seen as wrong or taboo or this or that, or, it was just like, wow, we could go there. So it really sparked a huge surge of creativity, but also gave the culture shock where I saw how people saw me as an African. And I was like, whoa, because this was outside of my bubble of people I knew or fellow Africans. This was the world and how the world view of me as an African was. And it was just like very in your face. We're not the same skin color, but we're not the same. Or just very third world, you're over there. How did you even get here? Did you fly here? Like, just very, you're like, dang, is this still, your perception of me? And that was sort of San Francisco for me. But Los Angeles was, stepping into Glendale, which was really, white. And, you have students coming and mixing for the first time and kind of seeing you really just race straight up in your face and what the construct is of that. And just being like, yo, this is really intense as someone coming into this and not someone who's been here for generations and had to, survive that and create something through that. So the general feeling was, you know what, I'm going to go home. But when I do come back, I'm going to come back wholly as me, just because, the me that I am now has been meant to feel less. And I don't like that feeling. So I'm going to go, but I'm going to come back as me. And so me that you ask me, how did you get there? So it was a real change of the Sampa I was, quite naive and just, bright-eyed and just head-on collision with what the world is and kind of spark the Sampa that you see today.
I guess I found my fortune. I didn't need home to feel important, but I need a feeling of peace. I'm heartbroken, such a bashage folk, leaning into the ether. Wonder if ancestors believing that through my DNA. Been searching for what's inside of me. Physically displaced and spiritually erased the sheetish rage. This is a war about urge. Physically synthesized, spiritual exodus. Hey, kidnapped, I'm in space. Right before don't recognize voices, don't know my face. Page. This is a war about flesh. Physically synthesized, spiritual exodus.
Mwana wati kalapanshi, ikalapanshi, ikalapanshi nina iwe. Mwana wati kalapanshi, ikalapanshi, ikalapanshi nina iwe.
En fait, moi, je suis parti très tôt en Europe et j'écoutais plutôt le James Brown, le jazz. Comme j'ai toujours expliqué, parce qu'à cette époque-là, vers les années 70, l'Allemagne, c'était la plaque tournante de la musique occidentale, quoi. Et comme en Allemagne, à Berlin-Est, à cette époque, il n'y avait pas assez de Noirs. Et nous, on était vraiment comme des stars, quoi, des Noirs stars. Tous les enfants, tous les petits-enfants berlinaires, là, quand ils te voient passer, ils disent à leur maman, « Maman, koukma di nègre, maman, koukma di nègre ». C'est comme ça que moi, quand je demandais plus tard, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire du nègre, on me dit que c'est le nègre. Et on me disait même, quand à l'école, on me disait même, mais en Afrique, là-bas, il n'y a que les arbres, il y a des lions, il y a des éléphants, les gens ne vivent pas, là-bas, il y a les indigènes. On avait ça dans la tête, nous, le petit noir qui se trouvait à avant-garde en Europe. Mais lorsque je suis rentré chez moi en Afrique, je n'ai pas vu des lions, je n'ai pas vu des éléphants. J'ai vu la civilisation comme partout. Mais je demandais, mais on me disait des lions, on me disait, mais c'est dans la forêt. Là, je me demande, parce que quand j'étais à Berlin, tous ces jeunes berlinaires-là qui me traitaient des nègres, mais eux, ils ne pouvaient pas traverser le mur de Berlin. Et pourtant, moi, étant que fils de diplomate, j'ai traversé le mur pour aller dans une école française à l'ouest. C'est-à-dire, j'ai traversé chaque jour, j'ai traversé le mur de Berlin. Mais eux, ils me traitaient des nègres. Ils étaient dans leur pays, mais ils ne pouvaient pas traverser le mur de leur pays même. Alors, attendez ce que je dis. Alors là, je dis, laissez. C'est-à-dire, le pays ne nous appartient pas, le monde ne nous appartient pas, le monde nous appartient tous. La terre ne nous appartient pas, mais la terre nous appartient. En fait, c'est un peu ça pour dire que l'immigration, vous me chassez dans votre pays, mais ce n'est pas votre pays parce que le jour que vous allez mourir, pourquoi on ne va pas vous enterrer avec votre pays dans votre cercueil? On va plutôt vous enterrer dans votre... C'est-à-dire, ça ne sert à rien de dire de chasser les immigrés. Laissez le peuple tranquille circuler parce que la terre appartient à tout le monde et la terre appartient à personne.
Immigration custom enforcer, treat me like a fellow human being. Immigration custom enforcer, oh, treat us like a fellow human being.
Immigration custom enforcer, treat us like a fellow human being.
So much we keep hearing when people go on about immigrants. Oh, they've come to take our jobs. Oh, they've come to take... I said, the jobs, most of the time, the jobs they're doing are the jobs that nobody wants. They are literally left where they are, and they may be doctors or lawyers, or they come, when they move, they're not even looking to be any of those things. They're just looking to survive, to take care of their family. Not just in America, in Africa, we have the same issues where we're monitoring borders. I'm like, who brought borders to Africa?
Everyone's working it through their blood. Everyone's working their feet like this. Everyone's working through their blood.
Home is where I lay my hat. Africa is home. My spirit is African. You could take me anywhere. The African in me will always pull out will always shine through. So being wherever I am in Africa, I feel at home. When I'm in America, what I loved about New York, and I don't say America, I just must say New York, because New York is New York. New York is in America, at least for a while. New York was America. There I met the world. New York, I felt like, I said this, if I really did not want to travel and I did not like traveling, I've met everybody, enough people from all over the world in New York. Like there's enough people from Africa, from all over Africa in New York, artists, dancers, singers, poets. And in that space, I was allowed, it gave me space to flourish. And they were all Black. This was another different platform from what I'm used to back home in England. You know, it was like, be all the Black that you want to be. No apology, no explanation. London is where I was born. That's where my parents decided to go to study. And they met there and they gave birth to me there. And I feel there's element of my quirkiness is connected to that. You know, I feel the freedom that London vibe creates for artists. I think growing up in London, you could be as weird as you want to. People will not even look at you twice because there's another weird person behind you. So that was the freedom I had in London. New York gave me the artistic space to do all of me without having to pigeonhole me. Oh, you cannot do this, you must do that. That was what New York gave me. Africa feeds my soul. The African child in me gets fed every time I come home. So that's how they all sit together.
The first time I moved to Europe, people will ask you, why do you guys are leaving Africa? You are the young, you are the young who have to build Africa. Why are you leaving Africa? And this time that my thematic was, okay, we are leaving Africa because we have dreams. We have big dreams, dreams who are bigger than Africa, that at that moment we are not seeing on the continent, we are not seeing that those changes we want on the continent. So that's why we are moving. Emergency in Africa. There's a stage of emergency in Africa, But I know things are changing today, but it has to be in those days it was not evident. So that's what I was talking in trying to say why people are leaving Africa, why the young generation are moving. They're just moving to see something else, to see how this other worlds, I decided to move because I believe that in other parts of the world, people can get a master in trumpet and master in trombone. But in those days, when I was talking to my friend, they would be laughing at me. You are a big dreamer, man. You dream too much. So for me, when the time came to decide, I didn't hesitate. So I just moved, and my attention was, I was moving to Europe, I didn't know I would be in Belgium or in France or in Italy. So I just moved in Europe. And finally, I landed in Belgium, in Brussels. And yeah, Europe is a no land, in most of people's mind, you come to Europe, the next day you start working or you start have a good situation, but it's not that, it's a no land. So you start in with your with your suitcase, running around, try to make connection, try to ask me a lot of questions, and at the same time remembering home,
C'est comme si on dit, il y a un proverbe qui dit, tu vois, il y a la pluie, il y a le crocodile qui a vu la pluie et il a préféré fuir dans l'eau. Mais parce qu'il a fui la pluie, mais il a fui la pluie dans l'eau, dans la rivière, quoi. C'est comme ça. C'est comme si nous, là, on quitte notre pays pour aller s'émigrer en Europe. On arrive en Europe, là-bas, on se retrouve vraiment dans l'enfer. Donc, on était dans notre pays, c'était le paradis, et tu fuis le paradis pour te retrouver en enfer.
Bye, 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 bye. I love that crocodiles run to the rivers when it starts raining. It's the same with a lot of people who migrate. They leave sweet Africa to find hell abroad, says Jupiter. I love the allegory. Well, next question now. Although parents are against their children becoming musicians, they themselves love music. Is there a contradiction there?
So I was born in Zambia, but I was raised in Botswana. So we kind of ventured between the two places. And I remember when I was younger, we'd have either like wedding ceremonies or funerals or whatever have you, and we'd sing, but like we'd sing in unison. And I don't know if it was a baby shower or something. And I remember everybody singing. I was with my mom, and it sounded at a point like just like one voice. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. And I just like remember how like the vibration of everybody was felt in that room, and just what music could do. And we were singing like African traditional songs. And of course, at home, my parents would play like Zambian folk music. They played like PK Chishala, the Sakala brothers, so they Pauline Ngozi, so we were introduced to Zambian folk music. It's not like we left home and just left every sort of connection. They still played, home music. And then all of a sudden it was like Tina Turner on the side. It was ABBA. It's just like, okay. And then there was, it was just a house full of many. It was really Lucky Dube. And then my cousin, younger generation bringing in hip hop and rap. So it was kind of eclectic. It was just these different sounds as a kid. And to you, you're being introduced to music. You don't know what it is. They're just bringing all these different genres to you. And you just like, for me, it was this makes me feel this. Not really, this is from there, or this belongs to this or that. It's just like this, oh, wow, this makes me, okay. And then you can dance. Oh, okay, cool. They white people. My dad played the guitar, he sang. But everyone sort of sees that as a hobby. Like, it's only a few months ago, I realized one of my uncles was in the founding members of Witch, and my dad just like passing was just like, yeah, oh, he was in Witch. And I'm just like, you're not understanding how important this information is. So it's kind of a musical family, but I don't think until now people see that it can actually be a professional thing. I think I steered away from the question, but I started working on the Great Mixtape. And I actually told my parents it was a school project. I didn't tell them I was just working on a music project. I said, it's a school project. But that backfired, because when the school project came out, they started playing it on radio. And I was like, oh, damn, how can I explain that my school project is on radio now? And that was just like a really honest heart-to-heart with my parents. Like, this is the one thing I know how to do well. Like, I can't do anything else. I'm so sorry, I'm trying. I think they were surprised about the speed at which everything grew. Because once that light bulb hit, once it was, I'm an artist, and explaining that I'm an artist, it was just no holds barred. Then it was just like, go. But before that, all the doubt and all the fear, just it really slowed down everything. But once that clicked, I think we were just like, oh, this is for serious. Oh, okay, support. Oh, okay. Like, it just grew. But it took a while for us to get to where we are now. But before, it was like, they didn't know the industry. And in hindsight, parents always want you to be able to support yourself when they're gone. They didn't quite see it as lucrative. But now it's just like, okay, new album. Can I hear? Like, there's major interest. But it took a while to get there.
Shade God at its finest. Wonder why after mom primus. Never underestimate your highness. Stripped in melanin, galaxy's finest. Build a bit of pressure with the spirit at the highest. Do it I will, do it I will. If you don't believe me, then you betcha I will. If you don't believe me, then you betcha I will. Build a bigger pillow for it, betcha I chill. Hey, oh my gosh. Where my go? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Guess you never know what you got till this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Moi, j'étais fils de diplôme. Mon père était fait mandat. On devait rentrer maintenant au pays. Nous sommes rentrés au pays avec toute la famille. Et arrivé à Kinshasa, comme j'ai expliqué tout à l'heure, en trouvant le tam-tam, j'ai commencé à faire la musique. Et mon père n'était pas d'accord. Et mon père a convoqué sa famille devant la famille pour me dire que si je continue à faire la musique, ils vont me chasser de la maison. Ou soit, si je veux, ils vont me faire retourner en Allemagne pour continuer les études. J'ai dit à mon père, je vais réfléchir. J'ai rêvé vers 2 heures du matin avec un ami. Comme mon père avait 2 bagnoles, j'ai dû prendre 4 pinets, enlever 4 pinets d'une bagnole. Enfin, j'ai chupé avec mon ami. J'ai fui la maison. Je suis devenu ce qu'on appelle enfant de la rue. J'ai commencé à dormir dans des maisons inachevées. C'est-à-dire, en quittant un prince à New York, je deviens enfant de la rue. Et cette vie-là de dormir dans la rue, c'était mon expérience parce que à chaque moment, je cherchais là où il y a des deuils pour aller écouter. Et pour ma sécurité pour dormir et pour écouter ce qui se passe. En fait, comme vous savez que Kinshasa, c'est le poumon de 454 ethnies, comme il y avait des deuils de gauche à droite, et il y avait des deuils de chaque ethnie. Et c'était ça mon expérience, c'était ça mon université pour devenir ce que je suis devenu aujourd'hui. Bon, je n'ai pas voulu être musicien. C'est le destin qui m'a choisi d'être là.
My father was actually a percussion player. You know, he played all these drum from Africa. You know, from West Africa. You know, we used to play in church and all these wedding and funerals. So yeah, that's how I got into music. You know, so I used to tell people I'm growing up seeing music at my door. You know, so when I was a little boy, my father used to hire horn players to come home and to go and perform. So that's how I was connected to music. Yeah. You grow up and music is like it's not considered at all. You know, you can tell your father, I want to become a musician. You know what I mean? You can play in church service, you can play in funeral, but try to be a professional musician. They'll say, okay, I prefer you be a teacher. I prefer you be a doctor, you know. But to be a musician, full-time musician, yeah. So that's the struggle at the first point, how to convince your parents, you know. That's the first struggle.
2019, my father passed away. May, I was home in England, which is where he was, and that's where I buried him. I went into depression, very deep. As his only child, I feel, I did know for many years that my dream was to blow, to be big in a way that he can finally say, okay, I'm happy you chose your direction. So even though I have done all these things that you know and you talk about, for me, I haven't got to a point where he will be totally proud of me. Even though we did have that conversation before he passed away, and he told me how proud he was. But I snowballed into a down spiral. Everyone, you know, I have this young man who I'm mentoring right now. He's an amazing dancer, a beautiful dancer. And dancing was something that he yearned to do. And he had to prove to his family that he's worthy of it, that it's another way of he can make a living, that he can do this for real. In Nigeria, where academic, it's like either a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, it's just nothing considered. But there's a change in here. People are beginning to realize that you can make a living. You know, I feel like like with anything, if you put money first, then you have a struggle, because it speaks a totally different language to when you're following your spirit, your art that is dictating to you.
Teach them, use them, the value of their mind. Help them cultivate their power source.
Wanty, getty. Wanty, getty.
Parce que moi, de toute façon, comme vous savez, l'homme ne choisit pas son destin. Et que nous, là, en Afrique, là, la famille ne peut pas vouloir que je fasse la musique. Parce que pour nous, faire la musique, c'est un monde de voyous. De voyous, quand je dis voyous, de voyous délinquants. Mais en fait, par après, on a compris qu'il y a des voyous délinquants, il y a aussi des voyous philosophes. Nous sommes plutôt dans les voyous philosophes.
You want right now, who go save you from yourself? This empty feeling, this empty TV.
To African parents, musicians are all thugs, but there are quite a few bad thugs. There are also some philosopher thugs, like Jupiter says, and that's very true. Now, our next question is, how do you reach stardom? Do you have to sell your soul to Babylon?
You know, I started my professional career in Australia, so I hadn't really released any music as Sampa the Great before I went to Australia. So that's where I guess musically Sampa the Great was born. And there was this whole kind of battle because I was kept being called an Australian rapper, and I was just trying to explain how I'm Zambian, but I'm based in Australia, or I've been in Australia for a while, but it didn't change the fact that I'm Zambian, and you know, that being a whole battle. And me getting to a point where I was just like, you know what, I am Zambian, and I'm going to go back to Zambia and show you the story of where I'm from, but also with the intricacy of me being a Zambian who was raised in Botswana as well. So in trying to prove my Zambianness, I came across the same identity crisis I left before I went to Australia, which was I was actually raised between these two countries. And it forced me to actually really like stay in Zambia and see how, as a Zambian raised outside of Zambia, I was perceived and the disconnection that comes with that. And it was very much in my face and sort of gave me a bit of a footing into what the diaspora may feel like. You know, that's a home you've never known, basically. It's familiar, but you've never been in there long enough to feel like you belong, you know? And so those type of conversations came up, and then they kind of came up with the African community in Australia who were displaced or who were refugees or who couldn't go back home. And it just grew into, you know, something like The Return. But I definitely did feel, even like saying Mulishani, which is hello in Bemba, and then my cousins look at me like, like that's such a worded way of saying hello, just because they could hear the difference, you know, in tone, and it just forcing me to be like, okay, I'm not gonna even speak Bemba in front of you guys because, you know, you judging me, whatever. But just everything was felt, like the displacement was felt. But to a point where I was like, I acknowledge that there is a displacement, but that doesn't make me any less Zambian, or that does not remove my lineage, or, you know, and just dealing with that shadow until I finally felt, you know, whole. So, yeah.
So this is one of those things where you really just have to decide who you are. What is it you're about? I decided long ago that I wasn't chasing, I want to be successful, but I want to be successful on my own ground, like being me, not me now doing somebody else and then losing my way because I didn't do me, which is where ALA, the song ALA came about, because I was constantly people trying to define me to me. I'm like, who are you? Who are you, Ray? Sitting on the fence and telling me nonsense. Waiting you, they tell me. It's so funny when you're being that wasn't based in Africa, when being that I'm in America, people try to tell me when I'm there, I'm either too African or not enough African. It's constantly that whole, you come to England, you're overlooked. When they're booking African artists, you're not booked. So it's like, which one, where do I fit in? I'm not urban, I'm not African. So you have to own your own. You have to claim it. You have to own it. Speaking up for myself, using music as a way to speak up for others. That's the tool. That's a tool in itself. At the same time, I'm playful with my music. I've songs that are really about my love of dance and song about the love of life. And it's a mantra because life can be so serious. Like I told you, as much as I appear to be I'm open. There are times when I also question everything. So I have to also find a way to settle that, to find that calmness in it all. Because to do you also demands you to be naked.
C'est-à-dire, on nous a donné un mauvais rêve. On nous fait croire que tout ce qui est à l'Occident est plus mieux que ce qui est en Afrique. C'est faux. C'est faux. Voilà. Quand je suis rentré chez moi en Afrique vers les années 80, et c'est comme ça que je me suis intéressé avec la musique traditionnelle. Et quand j'ai commencé à jouer, c'était parti. Et je me suis même fait star dans de deuils. S'il y a deuil, je pars avec mon tam-tam. Je joue de 22h au petit matin, quoi. Donc, quand j'écoutais la musique traditionnelle, j'entendais le même son dont j'écoutais à l'Occident, avec les James Brown, les Jackson 5, les ABBA, les Boney M, les Rolling Stones, les Beatles. Donc, toute cette musique, les Claude François, les Nana Mouskouri, toute cette musique avait le son dans ma musique traditionnelle. Mais sauf que c'était à l'état brut. Ça m'a révolté. Je me suis dit, donc, tout ce dont j'écoutais de l'autre côté, ça vient de chez moi. Ah, mais pourquoi chez moi, on ne le fait pas? En fait, aux États-Unis, par exemple, on parle du jazz, on parle de rock, on parle de blues, on parle de funk. Mais toute cette musique, c'est venu avec des esclaves qui ont parti du nord de mon pays. Vous voyez, bossa nova, rumba, merengue, pachanga, tout ça, c'est en Amérique latine. C'est parti avec des esclaves qui sont partis du Royaume Congo. Mais tout ça, donc, en bref, la musique que nous faisons dans ce monde, ça vient de la République démocratique du Congo, parce que l'Afrique, avec sa carte géographique, a une forme d'un revolver, et la gâchette, ça se trouve au Congo. C'est-à-dire, que ce soit le minerai, que ce soit tout ce qu'on parle, c'est-à-dire, le Congo, c'est le poumon, c'est la mamelle même de la planète, de la Terre. Voilà, en conclusion.
Ich kann nicht, was ich kann machen. Na tamboli, di tambola, tambola, Il est temps pour moi de rencontrer mes ancêtres. Où que ma famille in Africa, in Africa, in Africa. Mein Mia, mein home, Nakosonga.
Le Bofenia rock. Bofenia rock, ça c'est le mot rythme, parce que les gens ont créé le jazz, le blues, le funk, le reggae. Ce sont les hommes qui ont baptisé les noms. Mais pourquoi nous, on doit toujours suivre ces noms-là? On doit aussi baptiser le nôtre. C'est pour ça que j'ai créé à moi mon style, Bofenia rock.
Je vais rencontrer mes ancêtres, ou que ma famille in Africa. Sous ma famille, mein Kinder, mein Großvater, Nakuzunga. Nakuzunga.
C'est comme si vous dormez dans un matelas bourré de dollars, mais tu meurs de faim. C'est ça qui se passe au pays. Avec de multirythmes comme ça que nous avons dans ce pays, on doit être borné qu'à la rumba. Je n'accuse pas la rumba. Je ne suis pas contre la rumba parce que la rumba fait partie aussi de ma culture. C'est ma musique aussi. Mais moi, je voulais casser un peu cette mythe-là, de dire qu'il n'y a que la rumba, la rumba. Non, c'était C'était la colonisation. Il faut se libérer de ça.
Ich weiß nicht, wann ich kann dich fragen. Na tamboli bitambola tambola na mokilio. Il est temps pour moi de raconter mes ancêtres. Pour que ma famille in Africa. Pour que mein Großvater in Africa. Pour que mein Vorvater in Africa.
I was lucky. No one, nothing planned. I can say that I was just lucky, you know. And I won't tell the new generation to stay in Africa if they don't feel to. But at the same time, I won't tell them also to don't come to Europe or don't try their chance. You know, you have to be lucky. You know, me, I was lucky. You know, I have some of my friends here. They are sleeping in gas in stations, and yeah. But for me, I just say I'm lucky. You know. And what I want to put in emphasis on is my African culture, African people. This is my name. What we have to change, what we have to keep, you know, in our culture, you know, how we have to embrace this globalization, you know. This is my vision about, this is my main thing, you know, how Africa has to be today, you know. It's not about being modern, it's not about building, top building, no. How can we make it right like modern African who are connected, who are now mature to fix their problem, you know. So these are my main thing when in my music, you know. These are the main things I like to talk about, you know. And I also explain to the Western culture who African people are really, you know. We are not beggars, you know. We are not beggars, you know. We come from big kings and big queens, you know, our heritage. So don't see us all the time like beggars, you know. So these are the points I speak out a bit there, here, there, you know, in my music. This is the main things. My music is around all these things, you know. How to give back to Africa. The greatness in art, you know, in art, music, whatever, you know. So yeah.
We had great kings and queens indeed. But how do you give back to Africa its greatness, its art and music and everything? That's the question for the new generation.
So the new generation for me is all the young African who move to Europe or America or Asia or Australia, you know, and they don't want to become where they are. They move there, but having the Africa in their hearts, and in everything they are doing, you can see Africa, you can feel Africa. For me, this is the new generation. Some of them know about it, but some of them, they are just born in Europe. For example, an African boy who's born in Belgium, you know, when I play gigs, you know, sometimes you can see young African, they don't know African culture, who are born here, they don't know the culture. But when you start, as soon as you start playing, you know, they will be there and jamming. So I'm talking about this generation, you know, new generation, you know, so who move in Western culture, but want to keep African heritage, like the way we eat, the way we speak, the way we chant, our chants, you know, So this is the new generation I'm talking about, and it's high time. And this new generation is everywhere in the world. And for me, being the new generation, when it's about music today, our music has to reflect all this struggle, all this migration, all we have endured to now. So for me, this the new generation thing. So we can play Afrobeat, but it won't sound like Afrobeat home, because we move for home. It's now a long time we move for home, but the spirit of the music is home. But in the Western countries, we try to find a way to make a new sound. I can say a new sound, a new modern Afro sound. This was my research, and yeah, I think I'm getting there. So that's the thing. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a lot of work we have to do as African diaspora about this kind of migration. But now when I watch the news, I can feel that the new generation is willing to stay in Africa and build something. This make me being optimistic about it. They want to stay there. So we, the diaspora, have to be ready and go back. Go back and give them all this guide, this line. So yeah, I'm optimistic about it.
Nigerians is so full of creative people. The youths here are phenomenal. We're in a place right now where the government is not helping, the elite are not helping, and there are more youths than there are adults. I think the ratio is 51%. Yeah. So, and they're just loud. There's no work. There's no job. Something has to give. We're at the point now where I feel, when NSAS happened last year, they know the youths are. The youths, the decision is whether they're going to go all the way. Fela has been singing it. His son, Shehu, has been singing it. Femi too has been singing it. The artist, Falls, he's singing it. Even Burna Boy is singing it. Everyone are aware. If a change is going to happen, it's the youth that's going to make it. It's the youth.
Et si vous voyez ces planètes Jupiter, parce que depuis mon retour à Kinshasa, je suis entré ce qu'on appelle la génération Jupiter, le petit Jupiter, tous les gens qui me suivent derrière, parce que pour eux, je suis le précurseur des nouveaux sons de la République du Congo. Parce qu'avant, c'était toujours la rumba. Moi, je dis, plus question de la rumba parce que la rumba, c'est petit. Le Congo est vaste, et avec plusieurs sons. Mais eux, ils me suivent, ils m'ont compris. Mais ça fait 30 ans. Parce que mon premier groupe, je l'ai créé en 1983. Quand j'ai créé le groupe, les gens disaient que je faisais la musique de blanc. Moi, je disais, non, je suis en train de poser sur la musique traditionnelle. Mais ça a pris 30 ans. Et 30 ans plus tard, j'ai cassé le mythe. Maintenant, j'ai toute une génération de jeunes gens qui me suivent. Et ces jeunes gens ont leur groupe, quoi. J'ai derrière moi 3 groupes qui répètent chez moi. C'est pour ça qu'ils ont eux-mêmes dit, c'est Planète Jupiter. Ils viennent répéter, ils jouent la musique. J'essaie de coacher, de leur donner un peu le son. Il faut faire ça, il faut faire ça. Enfin, voilà. En bref, à la longue, peut-être je serai peut-être producteur ou des managers de tous ces jeunes gens. Voilà. C'est pour ça, je m'appelle Jupiter, général rebelle, espoir de la jeunesse, le monument vivant. J'en ai plein comme ça, troubadour. On va plus se plaindre parce que les Africains se plaignent chaque jour se plaignent. Nous, dans la nouvelle, on veut plus se plaindre, on veut chanter, on veut être gai, parler de la vie, de la mort et ne pas se plaindre. Souvent, on se plaint. On pardonne. On sait que vous avez fait comme les Européens ont détruit toute une génération des Africains. Ils ont jeté dans l'océan, dans la mer, ainsi de suite. Mais ça ne peut plus revenir cette histoire. On a tout pardonné. Maintenant, on doit dire, restons ensemble tous. On doit bâtir un avenir meilleur pour nos enfants tous, parce que nous avons tous un commun ancêtre, un ancêtre commun. Donc, pour répondre à mon frère, je dirais l'Afrique, les artistes d'aujourd'hui, la nouvelle génération, c'est l'Afrique de demain, c'est l'avenir du monde.
I have a younger sister who loves singing, and a younger brother as well. So it turned from being this broad ambassadorial role of if you say something wrong, then that's on Zambia or that's on Africa. And it being, this is being paved for Mwanji and Junior. Or if I do this, then Mwanji doesn't have to do this, so Junior doesn't have to do it. Not knowing fully that not only does Mwanji not have to do it, but another African girl doesn't have to do it. And sometimes that's the best way, you influence your little circle, and that in turn influences more people. Because there were many moments where I was like, I'm going back home, I can't do this. I think I recognized the opportunity. I saw what the opportunity was, and I was willing to forgo going back home and being uncomfortable for a while. And I think it would have happened. I would have been an artist, but I don't think it would have been the same way or the same projection. I don't think it would have been the same. Migration really did that for me, like opened my head up to the possibilities of the world, but also things you can bring back, and why the space of where you're from is important as well.
Well, food for thought. These artists have braved countries far away from their home, not only in kilometers or miles, but also in mentality. Well, a huge thanks to Sampa the Great, Jupiter and Okwess, Wunmi and Daniel Dzidzonu for participating in Africa Center's Home is Where Music Is program. I'm Georges Collinet.
With my life jam nation, you realize all the time we wasting. You realize all the pain we facing. Please.
Oh, that's George.
Hi. Wait a minute. Somebody has been playing with me. Listen to it. I can't stop listening to this thing. Jamais, 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 moi pas oublier toi. Continue, hein? La lutte continue.
La lutte continue, on lâche rien.
Non, faut rien lâcher.